We had to totally replace it. Okay? Then Gary lost his job. I lost my job. And now I find out that I have multiple fibroid tumors going on. So I'm going to have a series of shots and then probably hysterectomy. So it's like this right here. So know that it's real for me lately. It's truly
We're ready now.
ready? Okay. Gail, thank you for opening us up with prayer. I really appreciate that. So my thoughts today are on fear versus faith. So how many of you have experienced fear? Yeah, almost have. And yet you want to have the faith, right? It's really our choice. I've learned, especially in the past few weeks, it is my choice, right? Whether I'm going to face my problems, the ones I just listed, with fear or with faith. And I've wavered back and forth from the fear to faith. Lord, what are you doing? How much more can we take? Lee's going to help me with back and forth of
There we go.
So our text verse today is quite familiar to all of you, I'm sure. 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. For God hath not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So we're going to keep going back to this verse, and we're really going to unpack it later on in the message. He gives us power, gives us love, and he gives us a sound mind to work with. And we'll go to the next slide. Who can read this definition for me? Julie, would you mind reading that?
Sure. Fear, a painful emotion of passion excited by an expectation of evil or the apprehension of impending danger, an uneasiness of mind upon the thought of future evil likely to befall us.
That really struck with me, an uneasiness of mind upon the thought, just the thought of future evil likely to befall us. God's got it all under control, and yet I personally have to deal with fear every day. So what do you guys fear? I'd love for you to take the slip of paper that is in the upper left-hand corner of your notes page and write down, you go ahead and flip, and write down a fear of yours. You're not going to share it. Don't be afraid to write down anything you think of. But try not to put spiders, snakes, heights, water. Put something that, maybe for me right now it's fear of the unknown. What is happening here? Yeah, on the little slip of paper.
Heck, if it's a spider, I'm gonna get something wet, back off wet.
Again, you're not going to share it.
Sneak up and slap
So
it,
put whatever
but I can't slap what's bothering me.
resonates with you. You're not going to share it at any point unless you just choose to. You're not going to be asked to share it with anybody. And then just set it to the side, because we are going to refer to it again in just a few minutes. At the very end, we're going to refer to it. Give them just another second or two. I see some folks still writing. Everybody ready? Good? Okay. Go ahead, Lee. All right, so these are just some funny fears for me from my past. So on the left, you see a man, his name is Mr. Harold Watkins. He was my history teacher, circa 1977.
Aww.
So part of our task in this history class is to give a speech. Much like I'm giving today. This was in 1977. I'd rather, and I told him I'd rather take a 0, big fat 0, than to give a speech. I had good grades. I was in the top 5% of my class. I could handle a 0. Of course, being the teacher he was, he wouldn't let me. Now you gotta do it. The other one on the right is I was in band. I played the flute, so I'm on the back row, second from the left, with the big glasses that were popular back then. This was about 1980, so I played the flute, but I was nervous all the time. When you have to play, you have to do a music piece, whatever they tell you to do. So I'm standing holding my flute, but I'm shaking, and my air is shaking. And that's one way in chorus, they call it vibrato, and you're shaking your voice. That's what the teacher thought it was, but it was not.
Where was that?
I was literally
Where were you in high school? Where?
Concord High.
Concord.
Concord
Okay.
High.
Okay, I'm like Mississippi, sorry, that's
Yep.
where I'm from. I just-
So we've all had to deal with fears like that, right? Through school, through work, through church, whatever. We've all had to deal with everyday fears like that. So we can go to the next one. This is pretty recently, almost 2 years ago. It seems impossible that it's been that long. But for me, one of my biggest fears was opening up about my domestic violence experience and being able to tell people and wonder what are they going to think of me, how are they going to feel. I'm a people pleaser, I want people to think good of me. Finally, when I was able to face that fear and walk right towards it, so it hit me in the face, it was one of the most freeing experiences that I've ever had in my life. So I hope that I can continue to do that with other things in my life. So this is a funny video. It's not in the least bit spiritual, but it is funny. It's talking about fear. There's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong, but obviously if you can play this, you'll all recognize him as soon as you see him.
Alright, so I clicked on the link.
Yeah, click on the link and it should take you, it worked a few minutes ago when we did it, it should take you to the video.
I've got it, it's not playing up there though.
If it doesn't, we'll roll on, but we got plenty of time for,
How do I make it go to another screen? Cause it showed up. Wonder how we do that.
this is the video of Barney Fife, right? You might remember the episode of The Haunted House is one of the episodes where he talked about fear, right? And he didn't want to face the fear. Well, finally, Andy confronts him and says, wasn't it you who said there's nothing to fear but fear itself? And he says, well, that's exactly what I got, fear itself. So it was just so funny. It really resonated with me just in a funny way and made me feel a little bit better, about the fear. The next one was to be a video too. We tried it before the class started. Unfortunately, it's not working now, but it was Tony Evans on a more serious level talking about fear and taking that step for Christ. On the next page is a list of songs about fear. Now, some of you may not listen to contemporary Christian. Hopefully these will look familiar to you, but the breakup song, Fear You Don't Own Me, right? So that really spoke to me during this time too. You don't own me, I'm breaking up with you, I'm walking away from the fear. Fear is a liar. That's on your notes page. Fear is a liar. He lies to you, he tries to take away your breath, he tries to steal your joy. He's a liar. Stand in your love. That's another one that's really good. Confidence. I'm going to read a couple of the verses from Confidence. I'm not a warrior, I'm too afraid to lose. I feel unqualified for what you're calling me to do. But Lord, with your strength, I've got no excuse, because broken people are exactly who you use. We're all broken, but God uses us for that very reason, because we are broken. And then, let me go to the next one. Quotes. Jean, would you read this quote?
You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah. So she was really a pioneer in her day. She advocated for the rights of African Americans, the rights of Asian Americans, World War II refugees. She was really a pioneer. She was also the first delegate to the UN. I didn't know that until I started studying this. Okay, the next one. Corey Ten Boom, Miss Winkler, would you read these two?
Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God.
Corey Ten Boom. And then can you read the
It's
next
not,
one?
it's not my ability, but my responsibility to God's ability that counts.
So most of us probably know Corey Ten Boom, right? She was, what, everybody know? Yeah. Yeah. She hid Jews in her attic, right? And then out came the story, the hiding place. Do you know she was arrested and moved to various Holocaust camps, but she was actually released by mistake. She wasn't supposed to be released. So it's a pretty cool story. I think she knows a little bit about fear. We're getting chills now thinking about her. And then we have Rosa Parks. Gail, would you read this by Rosa Parks?
I've learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear.
Imagine she knows what fear feels like.
Mm.
Being on the bus, being asked to get up and give her seat away to a white person when their section was filled up and she refused to do so. That's, pretty amazing that she did that. And what, everything that transpired after that is amazing. Okay, in summary, so we've all experienced fear, right? We all have.
Mhm.
We saw a verse about fear, 2 Timothy 1:7. We acknowledged our fears. We wrote some of them down, and we'll look back at them later. I shared a couple of my silly fears. We thought we were going to look at the videos, but we didn't get to look at them. We thought of a few songs about fear, and we read some quotes. So I think it's safe to say that fear is out there in the world. We all experience it. Okay, now we're going to look at some of the impacts of fear. So I'm going to just go around the room as Lee presses the key. A set will pop up. The fear and the faith, the opposite, will pop up. We'll just review each one of them. So if you'll do the first one. Dean, sorry. Will you read the first one? Can you see it okay?
Yes, fear paralyzes you, faith empowers you to move.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cindy.
Takes your voice, gives you a voice.
Fear robs you of joy and peace, but faith brings you joy and peace.
And I'm not sure about your name. Can you see from where you're sitting? Can you read that from your angle, or is it hard?
Which one do I read?
The Bible.
Yeah, very
I
bottom.
hear on fear,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
lies to you,
And then under faith.
reveals the truth to you.
I see it on your side.
Gail.
Confuses you, gives you confidence.
Okay, Julie.
Fear deafens you, faith allows you to hear.
Lee.
Fear distorts your sight, and faith gives you a clear focus.
Desiree.
Fear enslaves you, but faith releases you from bondage.
And
I
Lottie.
can't see it.
Okay, Jean.
Fear weakens you, faith provides you strength and power.
Do these resonate with you? They do with me. I
All of
just
them.
boom, 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 go down the line with what fear does to me and how it enslaves me. Lee, you can go to the next one. As I studied fear in the Bible, I really landed on 3, only one of which we'll really focus on, but I wanted to go over 2 that are pretty common in the Bible. Terror. And for fear of him, the keepers did shake and became as dead men. Matthew 28:4. So this, we just talked about it like last week, right? It was Easter. Jesus had been buried in the tomb. He had risen again, but when Mary, the mother of James, and Mary Magdalene, and Salome, the mother of James and John, the sons of thunder, when they went to the tomb, the stone was rolled away. There was the angel. The guards were scared to death. Literally became this dead men. We're experiencing that terror, that type of fear. That's terror. Then, of course, there's the reverential fear. Pam, would you mind reading the verse for reverential fear?
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
So we're commanded to fear God, right? To reverence him. That's our whole duty. Simple as that. That's our whole duty. To fear God. That's the reverential fear. And so the next one is timidity. And this is the verse we've focused on and will focus on today. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. In this verse, fear is really defined as timidity. And so that's why I've got timidity at the top of the page. Fear, timidity, holding back, did not come from God. So who did it come from? If it didn't come from God, it must have come from right, from Satan. Okay, so this is where we're going to break down this verse. What has God given us? He gave us a spirit of power. From the Greek word, dunamis, like dynamite. So the video that I had attached to this was familiar to probably everybody in this room when Cannon Mills was imploded, right? I'm sure they used dynamite or some form of explosive inside, so it was a little tiny clip of it coming down. I think must have been plant one coming down. Dynamite is pretty powerful, right? Brought down cannon mills, that icon. And there's another verse in the Bible, Lee. John 1:12, but as many as received him, Jesus, to them gave he power, like dynamite, to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. So the same power that's in the verse that we're focusing on today is also used in John 1:12. He gave them power, us, power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Next, what has God given us? So we talked about the power, right? We're breaking down this verse. Now love. What kind of love? So the next bullet is agapeo or agape love. Unconditional, without limits, without restraints, that kind of love. He's given us dynamite power. He's given us unconditional love. The same word is used in 2 Corinthians 5:14 for the love of Christ constraineth us. Constraineth here doesn't mean hold you back. It actually means urges you. It urges you on. It's not restrain, it's constrain. So it urges us on with, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. I'm going to read that one more time. For the love of Christ constraineth us, urges us on, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. So God's unconditional love urges us on with irresistible power, because we understand that if one died for all, then all have been sinners. Last one, what has God given us? He gave us a spirit of a sound mind. And that is from the Greek word sophronismos. I'm sure I'm probably slaughtering the word, sophronismos, to save one's mind. He wants us to have a healthy, clear mind. 1 Peter 4:7 tells us, in using this same word, that the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, clear-minded, and watch unto prayer. So we see this word used over and over again in the Bible. So in summary, God gave us power like dynamite, spirit of love, unconditional love, a spirit of a sound mind, or a healthy, clear mind. In short, God gives us a spirit powered by dynamite, right? Think about the dynamite. Rooted in unconditional love and fortified by a healthy mind. So why is it so hard to go from the fear to the faith, even in everyday life? We're going to break that down and see what we can do. And I've had to apply this past week. How do I move from fear to faith? Okay. First, I've found that just acknowledging it. Okay, Lord, I'm acknowledging that I am fearful. Desiree, can you read this verse for us?
Psalms 56:3, what time I'm afraid I'll trust in thee.
So David must have been afraid. He said, what time I am afraid, right? He's experienced it as well, but he's going to trust in God. And that's what I've got to do too. That's what we all have to do. Just this week, laying in the bed thinking, okay, I'm already going there, like Jessica Broman says sometimes, I'm already there at the worst thing that can happen. I'm on the street, you know, all these things going through my head. Go back to this verse. What time I'm afraid, I will trust in thee. I'm acknowledging the fear. Okay, Lord, I'm afraid. David admitted he was afraid. We are afraid too. Of course, there's prayer. You need to pray. Lee, would you mind reading this?
Jeremiah 30:33. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not.
So of course, through prayer and through asking trusted friends and family for prayer too. It can help get you through from fear to faith. Pray. As you walk forward in your life with Christ, pray, and he'll guide your steps. He'll give you that strength. He promises to answer our prayer in this verse, right? Call unto me and I'll answer you. I'm going to show you things that you don't even know about. He's got things in store, things in plan that we don't even know about yet. And then, of course, hiding God's word in our hearts. That's not the verse I used here, but memorizing scripture is really key. Gail, would you mind reading this one for us?
Isaiah 41:10, Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness.
And as I studied this verse, even today, I looked, I'll strengthen you, I'll help you, I'll uphold you. Strengthen, help, and uphold. You know, when I can't even stand up anymore, he's gonna uphold me. It was almost like a progression or regression, if you will. Strengthen, help, hold you up. I'm gonna uphold you. Okay, last. Facing the fear with his help. I can't do it on my own. Right? I can't, there's no way I can do it on my own. Psalm 27:1 tells us, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Or even of what? Of what situation can I be afraid of? If he is my light and my salvation, what am I doing worrying about it? If I have the confidence that God is greater than any person, any situation I can encounter. Okay? So how do we conquer timidity or the fear? Acknowledge the fear, right? Admit that you're afraid. David did, we should. Pray and ask for prayer. Hide God's word in your heart, memorize the scriptures. And face the fear with his help. Head on, walk towards it, knowing that he'll help you. I've got something I want to pass out to you. I'm going to walk around the room and don't think anything until I tell you what to do with it, okay?
Melanie, I just realized that the last verse that you had was one of the songs that we sing in the choir.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And
We're thinking
I don't know about y'all, but I grew up with music.
I did too.
And if it's a Bible verse song, it sticks in my head even more.
You go now.
So I have little ones still at Awana. And my younger ones have a little bit harder time memorizing verses than my older two do. So I come up with tunes that they know, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, ABC, just the tunes that they've always known. And we'll do their Awana verses to those tunes to help them because they have a connection to music. And so that's how they learn their Bible verses because the tunes stick in them. But that's one of the best
Absolutely.
songs I think that we sing in the choir because it's straight out of scripture
I'll get you one.
and it sticks in my head, and so it's easier for me to memorize because I have a hard time memorizing stuff too, but I love music so I can remember songs. And boy, for being fearful, because I'm like right there with you, I can relate.
Yeah.
And to have a song that comes straight out of the Bible and talks about fear, probably at least a couple of times a month, that song goes through my head all the time.
It's a good idea.
All the time.
I love that song.
Okay, so the trash can. Remember the piece of paper that you wrote your fear down on a little bit ago?
It ain't big enough for my trash. Okay, go ahead.
So take that fear and tear it up in little pieces. We're gonna put it in the trash can.
There's a piece of paper that you wrote your fear on.
Tear up the piece of paper. That's the fear that we've acknowledged.
Okay.
We're gonna pray about and ask for prayer. We're gonna memorize scripture and hide God's word in our heart. And we're gonna face the fear with his help. So, you know, the fear is pretty much gone, like it's like garbage. Tear it up.
I feel better already.
Yeah, it's kind of cool just to walk through that.
Great idea.
It really is. So, now with these, I took them out. With these are these tiny little plastic flies. So if you want a plastic fly, it's about the size of the nail on your pinky maybe. Put in there, let me know. I didn't want to like scare anybody. But it comes with little plastic flies too, you know, with the garbage. So until I admitted my fear, you know, the biggest one was the fear of people finding out about the domestic violence and what are they gonna think and the stupid mistakes I made and stuff like that. if I admitted it and ran towards it, I couldn't, it was like I was paralyzed. And that's actually the title of the message is Paralyzed by Fear but Thriving in Faith. You know, whether it's that or, you know, whatever it is in your life, face it. And I'm living it right now, and I know it's hard. Some days I face it and I'm doing good, and the next day it's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, you know. But He can. And that's what I have to remember. And that's what we have to remember. So I hope this was a help to you guys today.
Absolutely.
That's great.
That was wonderful.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for your many blessings, and thank you, Lord, for your help in our time of fear. We know that you're there. You'll lead us and guide us. And I thank you for each one of these ladies who are here today. And I pray this was a blessing to them. Thank you so much, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Melanie, one thing I think about, this is the third week, and Lisa Scares, Rebecca Scott, and now you. And each is a different journey in lives. But we can relate to every one of them.
Yeah.
But the one thing that runs through it all is choice.
Yeah.
We can, which one are we going to choose to, you know, somebody said one time that this one person would come to them with all their troubles, never did anything about them, but they'd always come and they would listen, and finally they came to a realization and shared this with that person. When are you going to do something about it? Till you do something about it, I don't need to hear it again, so to speak. Not in a cruel way, but really being a friend. To, you know, and it is. It's about choice all through life.
Yes. Thank you, Gail. Any other thoughts or comments or anything anybody want to share? Okay. Thank you so much, y'all. Really appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you for coming. A lot of them have gone to the singing in the sun.